Welcome aboard. Starter Pokemon are some of the most recognizable and beloved Pokemon in the entire series, and with the 30th anniversary of Pokemon coming up very soon, I figured it'd be a great time to look back and talk about all of the starter Pokemon and what their best prints are in GLC. I only want to go over one card per Pokemon just so we don't have this video run too long, but some of them will be phenomenal and have multiple ones. If you think that I chose wrong, then please let me know in the comments. Also, some of these haven't been printed since Sun and Moon era, so some of the options are quite sad, frankly. But anyway, let's get right into it, starting with Charizard. Charizard is kind of a sad tale. It used to be the pinnacle of fire when E-Speed was still running around as the best fire deck. This was a good card. Being able to double your energy meant that you were able to use attackers like Heatmore more efficiently to use only 3 energy to get the 180 snipe. You were able to ramp your damage really, really high with cards like Entei, but nowadays it's just every other type has gotten so much better, and Fire's gotten essentially no help besides a couple okay attackers and a new draw card. It's not going to see play again, I think. It's just too slow, and if you're going to play a stage 2, it pretty much has to be an offensive one. The attack on it isn't bad, but I just don't see it coming back, unfortunately. Speaking of cards I unfortunately don't see coming back, we have Vitality Spring Blastoise. It was kind of a toss-up between this and the Rain Dance one to just let you put all the energy down. However, I think this card is a lot more interesting because it's clear that Baxcalibur has fully power crept the other Blastoise, and at least this one still has something to offer that isn't just a worse statted same ability Pokemon. So Vitality Spring lets you end your turn, but by ending your turn, you search your deck for up to 6 energy cards, not basic energy, just energy cards, and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. This used to be the strategy to get cards like Special Wave Wailord into play, but with Wailord falling out of favor for newer Wailords that just mesh better with Baxcalibur, Blastoise probably will not see play again. However, his reign was pretty fun. He was a pretty cool card, very unique at the very least. And now, speaking of cards that also got power crept, very recently we received Meganium, which does this but better. Jungle Totem is a great ability, the Meganium's ability is a great ability, but Meganium just has less retreat cost and a better attack, so it's really hard to justify playing Venusaur now when Meganium is right there. Unless you were playing the one that lets you cheat out stage 2s, but you don't have to because now Force of Vitality is a thing, right? So essentially this Venusaur has been left to just rot. However, Loopy Lasso is still there, which is a very funny card. Not objectively better than this in any way, but it is hilarious nonetheless. Moving into Gen 2, we have Typhlosion. Blazing Energy is a pretty awesome ability. It allows you to essentially turn double energies and energies like Ignition or Triple Excel into just flat fire energies. The unfortunate thing is that ever since DCE and Twin Energy were banned, this card has gotten exponentially worse. You can still use Triple Excel Ignition and get that same thing, and its attack is really funny, being able to put 2 energy attached to your opponent's active into the Lost Zone. That's honestly kind of impactful, but at the same time, it is a stage 2 in fire, and it is still 4 energy for 120. It's most likely only going to get a attack off, but it has upside on the day that fire gets good. I am of the opinion that Feraligatr is one of the best attackers in water, and I'm really sad that it seems that not many people have been really playing around with it. Torrential Heart means that you are essentially OHKOing anything in the game. So you do not care about HP boosting tools, you don't care about anything like that. Wailord doesn't matter. The only things that you're not OHKOing is like a Cape Torterra, and even then you probably are still running muscle bands and ways to solve math because that's what water really needs if you're not playing pump. I think Giant Wave's great. Not to mention, you have the Croconaw with the Plunge ability, which is one of the best offensive stage 1 abilities you can have, being able to swap out your active, move all the energy up to your Feraligatr. It's a great card. It's flexible, it's powerful, it's got good value. I think that this card deserves to see a lot more play than it currently does. And then ironically, here is the Meganium that has completely and utterly power crept Venusaur. Wild Growth, essentially the same ability as Jungle Totem, same HP, also a stage 2, 1 less retreat cost, attack does a lot more damage. So now you're hitting 2 for 140. That's like really good. This actually is a good attacker. I am sad that Jungle Totem doesn't exist anymore, but this is still a phenomenal card, and I'm excited to make the swap. I still haven't made the swap in my coin flip grass deck, so I got to do that. But this is a great card. If you're going to be playing Rillasaur, it's not Rillasaur anymore. It's Mega Boom. Got to get used to it. Blaziken is a great start to Gen 3. Inferno Kick Flurry is essentially Amazing Raiku's attack, just with an extra downside of discarding energy. I think it's a fine card, honestly. I think the attack is good. We saw this being the premier way to play fire for a good couple of months until people started, trying new ideas and whatnot. But it's definitely a strong card, and I think it's here to stay within the type. It will be one of the 3 best archetypes for the type for a good while. And I think a lot of that has to come from the fact that you have the Barrage Torchic as your basic, being able to use the double TMs to get double TM Evo, double Turbo Energize, double Crisis Punch in the late game. Like, you get a lot of value out of the basic, which is rare in a lot of these, stage 2 cards. Swampert is essentially the top control draw option in water. It fights the spot with Octillery, but Swampert's really good at just building a big hand. You are drawing a net 2 cards hand size wise every turn. Obviously the attack is not bad, but you're not going to really be using that. It is also Grass Weak, which is pretty cool for like the Lightning matchup, but it's really just there for control decks such as Leviathan, which used to be the best deck in format for a good little bit. That deck heavily relied on Swampert to just fill your hand, get all the options that you need, and then just start beating your opponent down under the giant wall that is Wailord. It's a great card, and I hope that it comes back in the future. Sceptile hasn't really seen a good spotlight in a while, mainly because it also just hasn't seen a print in a while. It's been a good long time since we've seen a new Sceptile card. Powerful Storm, though, I believe is the best Sceptile. There is Nurture and Heal, which attaches an energy and heals, I think, 20 or 30 damage from the Pokemon that you attach it to. But frankly, you're already probably going to be playing Rillaboom and Meganium, so you don't need it. If you were going to play Sceptile, it would be best to make it an actual attacker like this. Preventing all damage done by Ultra Beast is niche. It's kind of cool. Unfortunately, the best Ultra Beast in Blacephalon just passes right through that ability, so it doesn't really matter. Thanks, Psychic. But yeah, Powerful Storm, solid attack. Every energy you attach with Rillaboom is going, and Meganium up is going to be 40 damage, so you can, reach pretty high numbers fairly quickly. Not a bad card. Gen 4 time, and we're starting with Infernape. I think this card kind of got swept under the rug a little too fast. It is frail at 140 HP for a stage 2, but Pyrodance is a really cool ability that lets you just get even more acceleration into fire, which I'm not sure you even need it, but it's cool. And the fact that you can also play Fighting Energy means that you could play an alternate fire deck where you play with Crispin and you play Fire Fighting. You could even use Martial Arts Dojo to buff your damage if you wanted to, something like that. But I mean, it's got a good attack, and it's got nice synergies. There's like Cinder Cannon, what's his name? Cinder Cannon Camerupt that discards a fighting energy to deal like a whopping amount of damage, like Wailord Oko type damage. I just see this card being cool. I mean, you get to attach the 2 energy to Infernape too. So you could have, 3 energy in hand. Let's say for some ungodly reason you decide to play letter of encouragement, right? Letter of encouragement for double fire fighting, and then Pyrodance Manual. That's your Infernape. That's an attack for the turn, right? Or if you don't have to do that to Infernape either. You could do that to like Gouging Fire, who also has a double fire colorless cost. It's an interesting one. I think it's cool. Unfortunately for Empoleon, none of the ones that you want to play are like really all that interesting or good. Empoleon is a very odd card. I know I kind of just reiterated what I said, but the only 2 viable Empoleons are the Recall one, which lets you use the attacks of your Prinplup or your Piplup, or emergency surfacing, where you don't even run the Piplup or the Printplup. So I want to say that emergency surfacing is better. I've used it before. I've known people that have used it before. It seems like it pulls its weight. It's 160 HP, essentially a basic with the way that you put it into play, right? And it also helps you bail yourself out. If you thin your hand down, you play a card such as, I don't know, Peony, right? Peony, discard your whole hand, and then play the 2 cards you find off of Peony, and then immediately go emergency surfacing, draw 3, and then like auxiliary draw after. Like, you're churning a lot of cards, and now you also have a 60 for 1 snipe for 1. I mean, it's serviceable, right? It's pretty good. Now, unfortunately, Torterra just mogs like literally every other card that we've seen so far. This is the pinnacle of grass. This is a amazing card. You pretty much have to play this card if you're going to be playing grass. It's just that good. Evo Press does 50 damage for each of your evolution Pokemon in play. Grass excels at finding and evolving Pokemon. The Grottle just finds Pokemon for you as well, which is crazy. I mean, you have other Pokemon that do that as well, like CHESNAUGHT and the Grovyle, which I forgot to mention back with Sceptile. So big ups to Sceptile for having Grovyle, right? But Grottle is just so absurdly strong. You're able to, find your Torterra and also find all the other pieces of your board. You just let it sit there generating passive income for your consistency the entire time, and then come in with the giant nuclear bomb that is Evo Press Torterra for like 250. And it only takes 2 damage. You only have to attach 1 to it if you have Meganium up. This card's stupid. It's 190 HP. This card's stupid. I like, it's fair, but it's stupid. I don't know. Now, for objectively the best type in Gen 5, we're starting with Emboar with Inferno Fandango. This is a reprint of a Gen 5 era card that we got in the Black Bull White Flare set. And, I mean, it just is Inferno Fandango with better stats. Having that, Rain Dance effect and fire can be impactful as a, alternate way to play. I wish the attack just did a little more damage. I mean, we have Charizard doing 170 for 2 with its ability, and we're doing 120 for 4. I mean, sure, you got 180 HP, so you dodge the Iron Boulder, but like, I don't know. And also, Tepig and Pignite are fat. They have a lot of HP, so you can't really play, Level Ball or Poffin or like these like generally good consistency cards because they just don't work with them. If Pignite or Tepig actually like did anything, I think Emboar would be a lot better, but they don't. And I'm not saying that Emboar is bad. He's definitely a viable card, but And here comes my gorgeous, my glistening, beautiful, just aura farming, awesome, amazing samurai creature. I love Samurai so much. I love this card with all of my heart. It is so fun to use. Hitting that rare candy, turn 1 going, or turn 2 going first, or turn 2 going second, rare candy off the Irina to hit Samurai early, energize slash, and just deal a ton of damage. It ramps up. It's got escape rope as an ability. It's flexible. It's just like, oh my god, it's such a good card. I cannot sing enough praises. This is by far my favorite card to use in water. It legitimately is never a bad time. He's just so beautiful. He's so stunning. He's so unique. I love him. I'm gonna cut myself off because I'm just gonna keep talking about him. Unfortunately, Serperior is kind of like the runt of the litter in Gen 5, which I don't like because I love all these Pokemon quite a lot. This is the most recent Serperior to come out, which I believe will be dropping in perfect order, our set after Ascendant Heroes. The issue is that it's just not good. I mean, Royal Command doing like what 120 for that, like, it's cool. It might be worth playing just for Royal Command as like a low energy option. Just fill your board. Maybe you play Skyfield, maybe Skyfield Grass. I don't know. But Solar Winder is not a good attack. Rose's Encouragement is a very niche supporter, which allows you to attach 2 energy from, I don't know if it's your hand or your discard pile. I think it's 2 energy from your discard pile to a stage 2 if you're behind on prizes. That's a good card, but it's niche and not as good as just playing Raihan Search Energy, right? If you're going to be behind on prizes and you need to energize something, just do Raihan Counter. That's 3 energy right there. It's not terrible, but I think it's inflexible, and with just Royal Command, it might not be worth playing a whole stage 2 for that. You probably would be better suited playing Decidueye. Gen 6 starts with Mystical Fire Delphox. This is another fire card that's kind of fallen out of favor because it's a stage 2. Mystical Fire is a great ability. Draw Like till you have 6 cards in hand is a phenomenal draw engine. The issue is that instead, fire players have just decided to play Salazzle, Magcargo, and now Rapidash. So you don't really need the Delphox. You don't need to have a stage 2. And with Fire's struggle to set up like literally any evolutions, it's best to try to ignore this until we actually get support to do so. And I know I keep talking about how Fire just sucks, and that's just the type's identity. It legitimately is the type's identity, and I hate that, but it's the truth. So I'm sorry if it's getting a little repetitive in the Fire category. I really wanted to put my personal favorite Greninja, the flip a coin if heads don't take any damage, 50 spread for 2, in this spot, but I decided that Water Shuriken is definitely the best one due to just results strongly. I mean, this card just recently got second place at FGGE with Low Tide, and it is seeming like a integral card to be adding into low energy water decks to have Water Shuriken to solve math, you know. 30 damage matters quite a lot. I have used Leon as a cope option in water to try to, you know, hit these damage numbers, and it's really annoying, frankly, but this is something that you can do. Greninja helps a lot. Its attack isn't very good, but it is one retreat, so you could U-turn board it and use it as a pivot. Water Shuriken is a phenomenal ability. Frogadier also has a when played ping 2 on it, so you have extra value for the whole line in general. I'm a fan. I'm not going to waste your time with this one. This card is kind of just unplayable, and it is unfortunately the best CHESNAUGHT. They haven't printed a CHESNAUGHT since the X and Y era, and they're all terrible. So, on to the next. Incineroar is not very good, not very playable, but it is really funny in the sense that you have a Secret Attack, which is similar to the Recall Empoleon that I brought up in passing earlier. There are some funny attacks that you can recall, such as the Litten's Reprisal attack, which will deal 20 damage per damage counter you have on you. So if you slap, you know, a Luxurious Cape on Incineroar and somebody swings into it, now you're going to be able to double the damage on you and then hit them for that damage. And if you don't, then you still have Flare Shot 180 for 2. That's not a terrible attack. If you really want to play Incineroar, I don't think this card is unplayable by any means. But if you're trying to play the best fire deck you can, this definitely is not the way to go. Primarina is also stuck with the same fate as CHESNAUGHT. All of Primarina's cards are pretty much bad. Harmonix is a cool ability though. You know, being able to double manual attach for turn, that's pretty nice. But there are just significantly better cards that help you with Energy Excel and Water, and it also hasn't received a new card since the Sun and Moon era, so that's what we're stuck with Primarina for now, unfortunately. If there's one word I can use to describe Decidueye, it would be simplicity. Power Shot, literally just discard energy from your hand, you do 1 for 170, or you draw till you have 7 cards in hand. There's really not much to think about. You just attack, do good damage, and or have a nice little draw if you get hit down with like a reset stamp to low. The Rowlet has a cool ability that interacts with Birdkeeper, which lets you get a cheeky little snipe in the early game for free if you play it. So I would play Birdkeeper if you're going to play Decidueye. Not a bad card. I think Decidueye is pretty good. I think it's underrated, and a little more grass decks should consider it. Cinderace was one of the harder ones to decide which one was better. I decided to go with Libero because I do think the ability is better than Crisis Power. Basically, the idea with Libero is that you attack for 3 for 190, and then you retreat out, and then when you go back in, then you'll be able to attach the 2 energy you discarded from it to it again with Libero to just loop the attack if it doesn't immediately get traded out, right? The other Cinderace is pretty good, and I think the main key point for it is that it is a single strike Pokemon, meaning that you could cheat it out with single strike Mustard and try to do that. I've seen fire decks do that before. It's not a bad play. But I do think this Cinderace is just generally better. If you're going to play one, I'd do this one. I don't need to give you guys the talk about how good Inteleon is, because if you just read the card, you'll understand. If you play with the card one time, you'll really understand. This is basically the pinnacle of Water. If Water didn't have this, it would be a significantly worse type, and it is low-key carried by how good Shady Dealings is. And I think that's a good thing, because Shady Dealings is really fun to use. It's a skill-intensive ability at the end of the day. So, I'm not going to talk anymore about it. You know it's good. Rillaboom has been a key factor in Grass for quite a while now, ever since its release. Honestly, Voltage Beat is a very strong ability, being able to accelerate 2 energy from deck. This is really good, really, really good. I kind of can't say anything more besides that it's good, because it just fills a lot of needs that you need. You know, you get Energy Excel, it comes straight out of your deck, so if you get hand disrupted, you still have the Excel. You're playing against control, you still have the Excel, you know, like Hammering is not a bad attack because you're probably going to be playing it with a doubler, so then you're going to be hitting 140 for 2. It's, you know, been the best archetype, I guess, of Grass for a while. At least best offensive archetype. Eggmill kind of just destroys anything in its path. But Rillasaur has been a consistent archetype for quite a while, and Rilla in Rillasaur counts, you know, for Rillaboom. It's a integral card. Skeleturge is a card that I do personally like. I think this is a card that should come to life when Fire comes to life. It has a great ability. It has a phenomenal attack that mirrors attacks from Rollbox Pokemon. It's got 180 HP, so it's quite bulky. Uh, the only issue with it is that Crocolore and Fuecoco literally don't do anything. It's got like the Embor syndrome. They're fat and they don't do anything, and they're like really fat. But at the end of the day, if you get the Skeleturge out, it's really good. Just Fire has the struggles with it. And it also was, you know, on the similar rank of Blaziken and like how good the deck was with Swamp Fire being pretty solid. But we're just waiting to see what happens with Fire at this point. None of the Quaquavalls that have been revealed so far have felt especially notable and or viable, but this is probably the best one because the ability is just slightly better Octillery. It is still a stage 2 though, so then you have the issue of, you know, stage 1 versus stage 2 draw. You pretty much always are going to go with Octillery because if you're going to play a stage 2 draw, it's going to be Swampert. So Quaquaval gets kind of shafted, but I think Quaquaval has a chance to be like an offensive card in the future because, you know, it is a good offensive Pokemon in game, at least good enough, right? I think that they could play around the fact that its signature attack gives it the speed buff and try to make something interesting with like a fast hitting, you know, maybe like a card that could buff itself over the attacks. You know, I think that'd be cool, but we'll have to see what happens to it in the future. To round us out, we have Meowscarada, and unfortunately, all the Meowscaradas have also not been very notable and or good. They really have been shafting Meowscarada because this is a incredibly popular Pokemon design-wise, and if they printed something good, then this would be like a heat-seeking missile for people to buy, right? But unfortunately, the best we could do is having Showtime as the ability and just really using this as a pivot. 90 for 2 is like all right if you like, you know, need that final little push in the late game, but this is not a main attacker. This legitimately has only value as a pivot, so you're building a stage 2 as a pivot instead of just U-turn boarding a basic that helps you set up. Unfortunate, genuinely unfortunate. And with that, we have officially covered all the starters. I omitted Pikachu and Eevee because that's boring. And I made this thumbnail as a good way to, you know, portray my feelings on how some of these starters are treated, because I would love if a good Primarina just happened to come out. But Primarina's actually been buried alive, same as CHESNAUGHT, right? Inteleon is going to keep receiving strong cards. We just power crept Sobble like 2 sets ago, and now we're still waiting for any of these other stage 2s to come back. But that is the end of the video. If you've stuck around this long, I do really thank you. I didn't expect this to drag on as long as it did, but I kind of forgot that there are quite a lot of Pokemon to go over. If you enjoyed the video, please comment, like, subscribe, do all the funny button stuff. Let me know what your favorite starter is, and as always, good luck with your builds.